Okay, so we have another epic 3v3 matchup here. I'll just go over the armies really quickly. In the back here, we have some harpies. Up front, a few more harpies, and then a pretty heavy contingent of Beastmen Cav, backed up, or I should say fronted up, with a bunch of Sisters of Slaughter. Over here, we have a high elf force consisting of Phoenix Guard and Lothran Sea Guard. That's a lot of guards. And then a super intensive corner camp with high elf and Empire. This is just one strategy that you see a lot in 3v3 play. And I just want to comment on it quickly. First of all, if you're that bunched up, you're making yourself very vulnerable to vortex spells. And then secondly, if you're going to corner camp like that, make sure you don't isolate like the rest of your team. So if you're corner camping, literally everyone on your team has to corner camp, or else the person who isn't corner camping is going to have a really bad day. And that's essentially what happened in this battle. So these two were chilling out here on the side in the basement, the lower ground, and the rest of us deployed together, and the plan was to just go straight in, wipe the Tomb King, and then afterwards we would circle around and deal with these guys. So with all that said, playing in the Dark Elf, I forgot to mention this. I believe this is Justice. I'm playing the Beastmen, and I forget who's playing the High Elf, but anyway, and Ryan is playing, I don't know, one of these armies. But anyway, okay. So the initial game engagement's begun. We've sent in some harpies just to tie up these Shopti with great bows and kind of allow the dragons to do some work without getting too much damage. I think the Centaurs are a nice choice against Tomb King, because Tomb King tend not to have very much cavalry that can really fight them off, and they're like, it's not very effective to send a Necrosphinx chasing after Centaurs. So the Centaurs can basically freely cycle charge, and even if it's attacking in the front, I mean, that charge bonus is nothing to shake a stick at. And you can see, like, the skeleton warriors against repeated cycle charges, and now backed up with the poison from the Sisters of Slaughter, they're just going to start crumbling. Meanwhile, these guys are trying to make their way over to help out, but it's taking them a long time to reposition the cannons. The Hellstorm rocket batteries have found a good target in the Phoenix Guard here. So that's nice, but the cannon's still, trudging along and not really online. Meanwhile, you can see the Tomb King is completely disintegrating. Cetra's been netted. There's two dragons over top, which are probably going to drop down on him. Malkeith is also giving Cetra the business. So there's a lot going on. Meanwhile, the Cav just continues to cycle charge, pushing to get towards the Shopti back lines. So now you have the archers coming into range. They start sniping out on the harpies, which is an okay target. Alariel's down here, popping her Star of Avalorn on her Fireborn, just trying to keep those active. But whenever you see this Fireborn isolated and not backed up by a unit of spears, you can often put a lot of damage on them. There's not too much to comment on here. It's kind of a tar pit, just kind of slowly chopping through the Tomb King. This is now where the real action is developing. Evergreen's Court Guard are, I believe, shooting on the Sisters, or we're at least trying to, which is not an optimal target. Looks like Balthazar Gelt has just been netted. And there's a big flame attack, which did very little damage on him. Maybe not a second flame attack. But I mean, I don't know if it was worth it. You probably, with him netted, you could have just charged him and probably killed him anyways. Down here, Alariel's managed to get a hold of my Bray Shaman. So that's a good matchup for Alariel, and it sort of prohibits the Grey Shaman from getting into this Archer backline. But the Fireborn probably could have just, if they had helped out, just taken him completely off the field. So that was a lucky thing for me because that the Grey Shaman comes in handy much later on in the battle. My Beast Lord, I totally forgot about him, and he's just about to get sniped out by the Shopti Great Bows. There, down he goes. But the dragons are still online, and the front line's completely collapsed. The Tomb King is crumbling, and so now we're starting to rotate over. The Sisters of Slaughter here, I mean, they're doing an amazing job of holding down about 6 different units of infantry with that high melee defense. And I just cast a Flock of Doom. There's that caster right here, and it hit again about 6 units. So the combination of the Sisters and the overcast Flock of Doom, netting a ton of value. These Fireborn, I think, are sleeping. If they had rear charged the Sisters, that would have freed up maybe 6-7 units of the High Elves. So I'm not sure what's really happening there. Malkeith, same thing. He's gone in here and he's tanking out like a ton of units. Let's see what the cannons are shooting at. I mean, they have a terrible line of sight right now. They're probably even obstructed. Does it say? No, they're firing. At what? I don't know. But the Hellstorms are still netting value. They found, I guess, Seaguard in the back. They should be shooting this blob here with the Phoenix Guard. Let's see. Oh, they changed targets again. Okay, so now they're switching on to the Centaurs. That's a good target. That's making me pay for blobbing up there a little bit, but I guess I recognized it and I keep moving. So now Sisters of Slaughter again engaging the spears and the chaff units, and with them locked up, that's very helpful for me because my cav can start working around the outsides, cutting into the back lines here. The dragons, I guess, they're not afraid of the nobles. They've gone right in because they are backed up with the Phoenix Guard. So this is good. I guess at this point we're kind of just sizing each other up, figuring out where to push in. Balance bar is very even. Actually, it's slightly in the favor of the elves and the Empire, but the frontline troops have been all but eliminated from the field at this point. I mean, there's 1, 2, 3 units of swordsmen, a unit of spearmen, and another unit of swordsmen, and just some chaff. Like there's not a whole lot that can. There's no mobility that can pin in place the Centaurs, basically, and the infantry that they have is not elite enough to push through the frontline infantry of Phoenix Guards, Sisters of Slaughter, Swordmasters, and so on. So you can see we get into the cookie jar a little bit here. Centaurs are going to start cycle charging. That's another Flock of Doom that's going down on that center ball. Here comes the last hurrah from the Fireborn, and they're going straight into a unit of Phoenix Guard, so that's not going to work out too well for them. Again, Centaurs just trying to keep them moving. Balance bar is still in the favor of the Empire and High Elf team, and Tomb King, which is now completely gone. And there's a few units in the back here that have rallied, which I kind of forgot about, so not the best micro by me, but happens. Archers continue to shoot in, but this is the game-changing moment. So you can see the balance bar is in their favor, but at this point, Centaurs, with all that frontline infantry pushed up, they just don't have enough units to protect their back line. The cannons, I mean, the Hellstorms are pretty much out of ammo, but this one is the Hammer of the Witches is still full ammo, and that's been taken very low and is very close to wipe. At the very least, it's not really active firing at this point. And with the Hammer of the Witches offline, I mean, the Phoenix Guard, the Swordmasters, Witch Elves, Sisters of Slaughter, those are going to absolutely wreck these trashy Empire Spearmen. The Spearmen, I think they really had to stay close to those artillery pieces. Meanwhile, my buddy the Grey Shaman is back, and he's just cycle charging. He gets more winds of magic for being in combat because of the item he has, which is nice and very helpful late in the game. It's also helpful to have his leadership bonuses with, pretty sketchy Beastmen leadership. So I'm glad he hasn't been taken out of the fight. There's a witch hunter here. I'm not sure what he's been up to. I guess he's going after this light mage. That's cool. Good target for him. But all of my attention at this point is on microwaving the cav. I'm going to just pause here for a second. So you see this formation I have for the Centaurs. This is a terrible formation. Don't do what I do. When they're all lined up like this, you're not going to get the max value from your charge. It's better if you can, before you do your charge, straighten them out, and then you can hit the whole flank. At this point, it didn't really matter because that unit was routing and very low anyways, but generally, if you square up and then you charge, you're going to get a lot more unit models making contact, and you're going to get a lot more punch from your charge. Okay, so Witch Hunter, I guess, got tired of chasing the Light Mage and is going... oh, he's maybe trying to chase off the Prince? I'm not sure, but the Prince has more speed, so that's not going to work anyways. The Light Mage is feeling pretty good about herself right now, decides to take on an Empire Captain. And it seems to be working with the support of the other units. And here's another rear charge from the Wizard, the Centaur, and that's with the leadership so low now of all these troops, they give up. All that said, balance bar is still in the favor of the Empire and High Elves, and at this point I'm having a hard time understanding why, because there's literally no front line. All of the range has been essentially taken off the field except for, 8 units of Sisters, this unit of Silver Bullets, and a Hammer of the Witches, which is completely depleted. But we are able to take those offline with one more Centaur charge. And then it's really just heroes versus the troops. We've got a giant Necrosphinx on their team. We've got Illyrio. We've got Balthazar Gelt. So it's a lot of dollar value, but not enough chaff, I think, to support them. The Centaurs are very good at, making sure that the units that are routing actually do rout off and shatter. I think the Witch Hunter is about to say goodbye. I'm not sure if it's a... Okay, so they switch targets onto the Empire Captain, which is a good choice, because if you shoot your arrows into that Witch Hunter, you're probably just going to punk your own Sisters of Slaughter. So everyone's breaking on the field now. Illyrio and the Necrosphinx tried to protect that back line with the cannon. No dice. Bray Shaman still having a good time on his chariot. All of the units are shattered now except this one and this one. Just an FYI, I mean, I know, experienced players will probably realize this, but maybe some of the more newer players won't. If you see that little skull on top of the unit, it means that it's shattered and it's not going to come back. If you don't see the skull, it can rally and come back and fight you again. So all of the ones with the skull over the top, unless you're trying to be like stuff your kill counter or whatever, I mean, you can just ignore them and focus on the ones that haven't shattered yet, clear those off the table, and then you can go and take care of everything else. At this point, Gelt is, again, I don't know why he was there, but he just got shot up by some Sea Guard. Still has a bit of health. Let's see how he's doing. 400 HP. He'll rally. He'll come back. We haven't seen the last of him yet. Doing it for the Empire. So Illyrio and this Necrosphinx have a big task of dealing with 2 units of Phoenix Guard, some support cavalry, and a little bit of Overwatch from the Sea Guard. But the Sea Guard at this point have used all of their ammo. Here comes Gelt again. He's pumping up his magic with Arcane Conduit and Staff of Volan. So maybe he has a final transmutation up his sleeve. Could make a difference. And you never know with Illyrio. So she's a magic machine too. So sometimes she has a sneaky heal she can pull out, which could maybe make a difference. But balance bar is just about even now. The captains and sort of the lower level support heroes, the witch hunters, are gone now. And this is the engagement that we've all been waiting for. So can the Phoenix Guard, uh, you know, put a dent on the Necrosphinx? So a nice thing here, the Sisters of Slaughter, they have poison, which might not sound like a big deal, but the key thing about that poison here is it's putting a snare on the movement speed of these heroes. So when they try and kite out of the combat, it gives the Phoenix Guard a little bit more time to work. And now with all this other you know, backline cleared out, the Centaurs are free to come in here and also help pin in place Alariel and the Necrosphinx. Alariel is lucky she still has the Necrosphinx, because it means that she's not forced to land. But I'm gonna just fast forward here because there's a little bit of jockeying for position, but not too much going on. Okay, here we go, another combat. Got a nice little charge in there with the Centaurs. Alariel, she decides to, I don't know why my video is snapping like that. Alariel, she decides to come in here, help out, but again, there's another rear charge, this time going into Alariel. Gelt is trying to figure out how can I help, because he's not doing a whole lot right now. So there's a wise fan's wisdom going off from the base shaman just to keep the Centaurs with great weapons online. This is hilarious. This is probably the reason why I'm showing you this video. So Gelt says, okay, look, there's a Brace Shaman, it's terrified, it's running away. I'm going to just charge in there, snap its leadership, and he shatters. That's the best part of this video. The rest is just, cleaning stuff up. So good on you, Brace Shaman. You win the prize. And then everything else just, Alariel's totally pinned because of the cavalry, and the Necrosphinx is done. Okay, so fun battle. Let's go to the closed screen and see how these units performed. So let's start with Justice here. So Justice had an absolutely monster stat line with his Sisters of Slaughter. He chevroned them up to the max because he knew he would be fighting a lot of chaff infantry from the Empire, from the High Elves, and from the Tomb King. So that was a nice, decision from him. The Harpies tied up the Shaptic Great Bulls. The Sisters just cut up everything in the front line. So it was a nice engagement. From myself, I think the Centaurs were definitely busy kind of trying to get the rear charges in. Just generally using their mobility to cycle charge things. And they were helpful late in the game to pin Alariel and that Necrosphinx in place and give us a chance to sort of let those Phoenix Guard do the work. And speaking of the Phoenix Guard, so here they are. One of them picked up 2 chevrons, so good job, Commander Durpo. He went with, like a pretty elite line, pretty large, but it worked really well. I can understand not wanting to take cavalry against, let's say, like an Empire or Tomb King sort of lineup, because it's very easy for them to get sort of sniped out by cannons and other artillery fire. And it was pretty impressive that he was able to keep the Star Dragon online with all of that shooting. I mean, the Prince and the Star Dragon eventually died, but they had a chance to do work, and the Star Dragon picked up 2 kills, so he paid his dues. On the other team, the Hellstorm rocket batteries are sort of MVPs in almost every matchup if you take them. Hammer of the Witches was out of position at the start, but in the end, most of the units had a chance to help out. Tomb King, poor guy, he got banged, and again, he probably should have been in the corner with his allies, so he didn't get isolated. This, you might know this might come up as a theme as I do more videos, but I'm not a huge fan of Tomb Kings in general. I think that there are more competitive choices, but they're a colorful army and they're a lot of fun. And then finally the High Elves, Fireborn, always a threat, even now that they have the cost increase. They synergize well with Alariel, who is pretty good at keeping them online. I think that this roster, it can work, but I would have tried to go wider personally. Two nobles plus Alariel, that's almost 5k worth of points. and if you have 12k of points, I mean, you're spending almost half of your army roster on heroes, which is it's a lot. So, fun game. Well played to everyone, and I'll try and get some more videos up soon. Thanks. Bye.